Kazakhstan is one of the most multinational countries in the world. Here live representatives of more than 130 ethnic groups and nationalities. Each ethnos is a unique tradition, unique holidays, fascinating stories and amazing recipes. Recipes of kindness and peace, recipes of respect for their ancestors and foreign culture, recipes of friendship. Hello, you are watching Recipe for Friendship. My name is Alevtina Majarova and today I invite you to get acquainted with bright rituals, culture and traditions of perhaps the largest ethnic group in our country, the second after Kazakhs. It's easy to guess that this program will be about Russian culture. In today's program, what is it like to live according to the Christian calendar and what is the main holiday for Christians around the world? What kind of dishes one can cook without breaking the rules of fasting and at the same time please the family and guests. We live in a multinational country, that's why we take some things from other nationalities. How newlyweds were welcomed in a new home in ancient Russia. Godmother. The newlyweds are coming from church. Do you hear it? Do you hear it? And also we will hear many songs and couplets, get acquainted with interesting people and learn new things about Russians.
Молодежь несется с гор, румяная, бедовая.
As you know, in our multinational country you can meet representatives of about 130 cultures and nationalities. But which diaspora can be considered the largest in Kazakhstan? Of course we are talking about the Russian ethnic group. Russians are the second largest national group in Kazakhstan. According to data of 2015, Russians make up a total of about 20% out of entire population in Kazakhstan, which is more than 4 million people. Most of them live in the East Kazakhstan region, Karaganda and Kostanay regions, and also in the two capitals, Almaty and Astana. We had a great opportunity to see a very interesting and colorful ceremony in Astana. Very often the most beautiful and vivid ethnic rituals are associated with the wedding. And today we will welcome newlyweds and bride in particular in her new home the way it was done in ancient Russia. However, before we will travel to the capital of Kazakhstan to see the wedding, I suggest to recall what kind of traditions precede the wedding. People in the olden days planned their lives according to the church calendar. The weddings were celebrated also only during specially assigned periods of time. The year begins with Christmas, and how people get ready for the holy evening before Christmas we learned during our acquaintance with the Ukrainian ethnic group. The next big winter holiday is undoubtedly Maslenitsa or Shrovetide. Quite recently we have examined in detail how it is celebrated in different countries and among different people. It was during the Shrovetide week acquaintances were made. It is not for nothing that every Tuesday during Maslenitsa week is called a flirt day. The name speaks for itself, because in the center of attention of the holiday are young men and women who have not yet settled for marriage. This evening they were allowed to have fun until late at night. In the old days it was often on Shrovetide Tuesday and everything was prepared in order to celebrate a wedding after the end of the great fasting. So once Maslenitsa is over, it means that laughter, jokes and fun stop for a while, and a period of humility, asceticism and good deeds starts. During the great fasting, the focus is made on spirit, kind deeds and thoughts, and there are no celebrations and parties for a month and a half. However, as we already know, fasting and refusing food of animal origin does not mean giving up healthy food. And the festival of Lenten cuisine, which takes place annually in Almaty, is another confirmation that a skillful mistress can even cook an axe as in a fairy tale, and it will be tasty. It seems to me that the festival of lean cuisine, which takes place every year, is very important. It is important because it helps to preserve the tradition. It is also important because it teaches people how to eat properly. The fasting lasts for 49 days. And even in the pre-Christian era, climate characteristics and agricultural works contributed to the emergence of fasting. After all, as a rule, by the end of winter, stocks made at the end of summer are scanty, cattle is scarce, and it is necessary to hold out until the spring without losses. This is an excellent help. However, now, due to the variety of ingredients and the ability of cooks, such abstinence can be very easy. Even those people who doesn't approach fasting from a religious point of view, they still can find something new for themselves. This festival of Lent cuisine is not only for religious people. It is a wonderful demonstration of how many wonderful things Russian hosts can do. And those who adhere to very different foundations of faith, those for whom fasting is just a gastronomic event, they too can learn new things for themselves, and it is also very important. Today we will cook a very simple dish, vareniki. And with what? They are cooked with cherries and mushrooms, but today we will cook vareniki with potatoes and sour cabbage sautéed in sunflower oil. The dough is simple, right? Yes. Salt and water are mixed with flour. It needs to warm up and later we can already start cooking. And it is important to remember that fasting is not a diet. In the modern world, many people tend to regard this period as an excellent excuse to detox the body, to give it a respite from dense animal food. I want to pay attention to what's on the table, the most popular food during fasting. We have a pumpkin here, right? With prunes. It is a must on the table. Also, this is what goes into the vareniki. Yes, sautéed cabbage. It's hard to imagine fasting table without buckwheat, right? Sure, it is very nutritious. It gives a lot of energy because fasting is not a diet, you know. Life and calendar year of a modern man, even living in rural areas, is planned, of course, according to principles and laws which are very different from those adopted in antiquity. However, still some 100 years ago, observance of the rules fixed in the same church calendar was of great importance for survival. Time of holidays and agricultural works, rest periods or the season of matchmaking and weddings, everything was common and was celebrated with the entire community. And this approach in turn made it easier to overcome difficulties, solve problems and celebrate holidays more cheerfully. From time immemorial, my mother taught me. I am from Semipalatinsk. From time immemorial, my mother and grandmother taught me like this. Speaking of the lean cuisine again, it is worth noting. Potatoes, cabbage, buckwheat are favorite ingredients. What do we have in the decanter? We have kisel, it's with cranberry flavor. Because there are a variety of flavors, it can be made with different berries. But today we have a cranberry starch drink. Cranberry kisel has a special place among dishes intended for fasting. Here you have vitamin C, which is great after a long winter. It is an elegant drink since alcohol is forbidden during fasting, and of course it can be a dessert, because it is very sweet and delicious. Why did we need such a long and strict preparation? Because of the most important event in the calendar of all Christians around the world. Today, continuing the story of Russian culture, I invite you, along with the Russian community of Almaty, to celebrate the biggest Christian holiday, the bright Easter resurrection. Easter is the biggest, joyful and long-awaited holiday in the Slavonic and Catholic and Judaic calendars. It is a long-awaited day to which people prepare long in advance. Easter is called a holiday of festivities and a celebration of festivities. The date of the holiday is calculated for each year and falls on the first Sunday of the first spring full moon. Easter is the central event in the life of Christians. This is the central holiday of the calendar, and on this day people come to the temple in order to join the living Christ. The main part of the Easter service is the communion. Preparation for a bright Sunday begins early. In the old days, the house was whitewashed, the house was renovated, cleaning was done, children had new clothes prepared. Easter has its own special dishes, the main among which are cakes made according to the old recipes and painted eggs. Since Christianity has been part of Russia for more than 1,000 years, this religious holiday is filled with many folk customs and traditions. Except for church services on that day, there is a tradition to visit friends and relatives to congratulate each other. We bring each other a good message that Christ is risen, and be sure to answer truly risen. On the day after fasting, which lasts for 49 days, a family gathers around a set table filled with painted eggs and special Easter pastries. Family members share joy, embrace and greet each other. The actual celebration begins in the evening service, and at midnight from the doors of the temples begins the procession, a solemn procession with loud singing of holiday songs. Then the festive service continues until the morning. The procession is a procession of people to meet God. Our whole life is a procession from death to life, from sin to holiness. That's why the Easter service begins with the procession, when people with icons, with solemn singing, walk in the church. One must greet each other on Easter Sunday with the words, "Christ is risen." The answer is standard. He is truly risen. If a Nowruz, every resident of Kazakhstan is looking for Nowruz koje and bausaks, at Easter everyone waits for cakes and sharing a common joy. Well, the long winter is over. The main holiday has died down and now it's time for fun and weddings. Godmother, the newlyweds are coming from church. Do you hear it? Do you hear? Traditionally, a young wife moves to live with her husband and his parents. Parents welcome a young couple as usual, with bread and salt. I bless you with my holy icon. They kiss the icon. In Russia, according to the custom, who bites off the bigger piece from the loaf of bread, he will be the master in the house. Come on, son. Come on, come on. Well, our daughter. My son will be the master in the house. The tradition of bread and salt is alive in Russian culture to this day, as however, and a comic contest which will show who will play the main role in the couple. There is a wedding without ritual tests. How ready is a young woman for a new life? In the olden days, the emphasis was usually made on her farming skills, and here perhaps Russian culture is similar to many others. How beautiful she is! She is beautiful and smart. And how will she be around the house? I would like to see and show all the guests. Well, let's see. Even if the daughter-in-law and mother-in-law become best friends, strictness in the tone is a must. Once moving into the house of her new mother, a young woman becomes a main help and object of criticism. Today, of course, much has changed and the newlyweds themselves decide how to build a life, where to live and according to what kind of rules. However, in a painful form, such checks can be arranged now, but for fun. Well, my bride, I want to test you. How will you manage the household? Here's your ruble. Show me what can you do. Dear guests, what can you say about the bride? Well, dear daughter, show me what I taught you. Good girl, you are doing great. Here, well done. She knows everything. In rural areas, girls were trained to wash, cook and clean from a young age. Here is a grip for you. Here's a stove for you. How are you going to carry the borscht to my son's table, your spouse? There are some tests for brides with a small trick. After all, another important quality of the bride was always considered her purity and innocence. Well, how will you take care of my son, your spouse? Show it. But my daughter doesn't know it yet. Well, then you can show it yourself. It's easy. Sit down. Here, please. That's how you should do it, daughter. Wedding gifts should be of a different character. Along with expensive practical gifts, there are also symbolic ones. For luck, for fidelity, they can be considered something like amulets. Dear guests, as it should be on weddings, gifts are for a young couple. I give you silver and wish for your house to be filled with goodness. I give you coins so your husband won't cheat. I give you gold so that you will always be young. I give you a mug. Love each other. Well, and as they used to say in ancient Russia, a wedding is celebrated with a great party. Dear guests, I invite you to the wedding table to taste our wedding bread and salt.
Дайте, дайте ходику веселому народику. На дубу сидит ворона, кормит вороненочка. О, какой-нибудь разине отобью миллионочка. Пошла, Маша. Меня милый не узнал, пень березовый обнял. Думал, в кофте розовая, это пень березовый. Меня милый не целует, говорит губастая. Как же я его целую, филина в глаза вставал. Выйду на улицу, гляну за него. Эти молодые свели меня с ума. Выйду на улицу, гляну на село. Детки гуляют, и мне весело. Выйду на улицу, гляну на село. Детки гуляют, и мне весело.
We will soon continue our acquaintance with traditions and customs of Russian culture, as well as details and characteristics of other cultures of Kazakhstan. It's not for nothing that our program is called Recipes for Friendship. So until new discoveries.
Всем спасибо за внимание, за задор, веселье, смех. Вот настал момент прощания. До счастливых новых встреч!